Good evening. It is Thursday, April the 25th, about 9 o'clock p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson bringing you a wind and weather forecast, the final forecast for CORA's Quicksilver Cup to Hilton Head starting tomorrow at 4 o'clock p.m. Things definitely look better than they did a couple of days ago as things are more clear in the forecast. So we're going to get into that in just a second. Let me minimize myself here. What we're looking at is the College of DuPage GOES 16 satellite and radar imagery. And notice this giant slug of moisture that's heading towards our area. It looks like it's going to break up somewhat. I think we'll still get some showers as we get into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. Things will probably get to be the worst with the rain and the storms, if we get any storms, sometime late tomorrow morning and maybe into the early afternoon. I did call the Weather Service today to find out what their thoughts were as far as when these would end. They said around 2 o'clock p.m. is when things should be wrapping up, but we may expect an isolated shower to maybe a little rumble sometime between 3 and 5 p.m. Just to kind of put that on your radar, that there might be a quick moving storm through the area, just one or two isolated cells moving through. Let's look at the GFS from Tropical Tidbits, and we can kind of capture what's going on right now. This low is going to actually move a little faster up towards the northeast, maybe a little bit more over the Ohio Valley. As we move into time, what we see is this low developing out here over towards the Great Lakes, towards the eastern Great Lakes in this area. And behind that, we have a ridge working out of Texas heading to the east. And what that does is it brings a northwest flow behind the cold front that's going to be coming through our area early tomorrow afternoon. Once things start to clear out, the winds are going to switch to the west and then northwest. We may have a moderate pulse of that northwest flow. So initially it might be a little bit on, I wouldn't say strong, like we're not going to be passing 25 knots or anything, but I think we'll get up near 20 knots, maybe the upper teens, and then they'll start to back down as the night goes on. You'll end up with moderate flow through midnight and should be a pretty good run all the way to Hilton Head. Let's take a look at the HER 3 kilometer. This is the Precip mile. This only goes out 18 hours, so it's not capturing that start time in it just yet. But you can see where the bulk of moisture goes through a little bit earlier in the day, and it even breaks up a good bit according to this model. So we could have a little bit more than that. But notice in the very last frames here, let me fast forward all the way to the very end and pause the play. Right about here, this is what I was talking about with some of these little isolated cells that may make it through close to start time, maybe back here. A couple of those may traverse the area near start, but I don't think anything serious, no severe storms or anything like that. And pretty much the air is going to be drying out, so some of those may not even register. They may be false readings as far as the composite radar is concerned in this run. Let's go ahead and take a look at sail flow. I'll start out with Fort Sumter Front Range Light just for starters, and let's take a look at the model runs for tomorrow. It looks like there's a lot of agreement as far as, let me blow that up a little bit and move me down just below it. And as we get into tomorrow afternoon, we're starting to see more and more model agreement. We're going to be seeing probably a moderate pulse of south-southwest winds just ahead of that cold front, and then we see that switch. Sometime 3-4 o'clock p.m. we see winds switching to the west, and that's going to help out a lot, especially getting out of the harbor and around through the jetties and everything. And then you should probably just run a rum line all the way down through the night, because we see the winds starting to bend a little bit west-northwest and even northwest as we get heading towards midnight. But the general consensus is offshore westerly flow. It starts out moderate and then it slowly starts to edge down. So right around 2 o'clock a.m. we're down near 10 knots to low teens. Most of you should be arriving there by that time, if not before. And so it should be a pretty straight line. I would think doing the rum line all the way down, when you come out and you just stay close to shore, because the swell heights are going to be up when you start. So you're going to have kind of a bumpy ride. In fact, if we look at the near shore, let me go back and stop this and start from the beginning. And let me get to tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning, the swell heights are going to be on the increase ahead of that cold front. So we see the swell heights coming up into the coast. We're looking at 3, possibly 4 feet offshore by 2 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon. And then once the winds switch west and northwest, that swell is going to start backing down. So you can kind of see here, this zone here with the lower swell right around 2, maybe 3 feet is going to be the spot to be. Even closer in, you want to stay where the wind is nice and strong off the coastline. But if you're running that rum line all the way down, you're not going to have so much swell to be beat up out here well offshore. You don't want to be that far out and get bumped around, because that south swell against the northwest wind is going to make things really choppy. So be prepared for a little bit of a bumpy ride. Let's look at low temperatures for tomorrow night. Going to be a little bit on the cool side. This is the Weather Service latest thinking right here. We're going to be down in the upper 50s, mid 50s. So the water temperatures being a little bit warmer, near 70 degrees. In fact, we see that here. We might be a little bit warmer than that over the water. So we're looking at upper 50s to near 60s for lows. So keep that jacket handy. And I think that's going to do it for this round. But we'll take one more look at sail flow and go down to the Fripp nearshore buoy just to find out what it's thinking. And this is close to Port Royal Sound where you'll be finishing up. And there, once again, the model agreement is in. The only thing there's a lot of disagreement is the speeds. So we know that we're probably going to be having some moderate speeds. I would say 14 to 18 knots in the very least through the evening time, maybe up near 20 knots, gusting into the low, maybe mid 20s. So be prepared for some gusty winds once that cold front goes through, and then slowly edging down through the night. By the time you make it to Port Royal Sound, somewhere in this time frame, winds should be calming down a good bit. So I think it's going to be a great race tomorrow. I wish everybody the best of luck. And I just talked to Andy a little while ago, and at the skipper's meeting, they did decide to keep the start time at 4 o'clock p.m., so that's good news for everybody. Best of luck to everyone. Stay safe, and have a good time out there. Thanks for watching.